there. Welcome to episode 125 of the Carr Brothers Show. I'm Jack.
And I'm Jeff.
And I'm Jody, the third of the three Carr Brothers. Well, we're very happy to have you join us again tonight. We've got an exciting show. We're going to talk about provincial politics, federal politics, the United States election, anything else we'll want to talk about as well. But we've also got some great news that was already announced late last week. CHCO TV, which we all know, we broadcast the Carr Brothers Show, among other channels, media, social media, and things like that. But CHCO, that runs its only independent channel, as we know, is now available in every single household in New Brunswick to those who have cable. So whether they have Bell, satellite, and 5, we've already been on a lot of Bell anyway. But what's been added was Rogers and Shaw. Big news.
Province-wide.
Province-wide.
It hasn't been province-wide. And Patrick has been working hard at this to try to get some little regulations changed here and there, trying to cooperate with the big wheels in the industry, the big companies, and now finally his work has allowed northern New Brunswick, central New Brunswick to have some independent TV, New Brunswick-based TV on their providers, which is a pretty big deal for them.
Very big deal, and it's great for the province. Yeah, great
really
for the province to have access to more programming, more local programming that we've lost in this province and probably across the country. And it's literally been years that Patrick's been working on this issue, and Vicky as well, and later. But he's been working on this for like a decade or more. So congratulations.
So do you think this gives opportunity now for maybe some Francophone programming to maybe get in touch with CHCO and have some local programming up in the north on Francophone? I think Patrick and Vicky be just elated to do that. So that would be kind of cool, and then there could be a balance around the province of what people want to watch locally. Fishing shows, I see they have sports shows, political shows, and different things like that. Municipal councils, sometimes they could patch that in and get it on. So,
and of course now their bingo is available. You can play bingo province-wide. You can get access to the bingo cards for CHCO. So that's another benefit right there. So viewers in St. John, Fredericton, throughout the whole province can now play bingo.
And I think the question that we will get here, or a lot of people will be asking, is what's the channel on my provider? So I think the best thing that people can do is either contact their own provider or search through your guide for CHCO and take a little time to go through, or contact your provider and see which one exactly is, because it is a wide range of different channels throughout the province, I believe. So
it is. So they can check their TV guide on their TV. We've posted it on our Facebook page, and also CHCO. You can go on their website and also their Facebook
check
page.
them out. So
it's exciting, and as you said, it was no small feat. It required intervention at the national and the provincial government levels, and quite a long time working away at that, hasn't it? Yeah, it's quite something. Yeah, so, big news. If you're just joining us, we're talking about CHCO TV. Of course, we're broadcasting our show on CHCO. We also broadcast on Facebook and on YouTube and your favorite podcaster. But specifically on CHCO, if you just joined us a little late here, at the top of the show is CHCO is now available on all cable providers in New Brunswick. Rogers and Shaw coming on board last week. And it's been based primarily out of Charlotte County, St. Andrews, and now we'll have an even more provincial flavor. So to be able to offer that community programming.
Yeah.
So great. So good. Well, let's move on to some other provincial happenings, I guess, provincially here in New Brunswick, and some other tie-ins, I guess. British Columbia just had their elections. Saskatchewan just had theirs. Nova Scotia, we're in the middle of one. And, of course, New Brunswick just had ours a couple of weeks ago. So here in provincial front, there's not really a whole lot. We're in
caretaker mode, I guess they call it. Caretaker mode, where they're waiting for the new government to get sworn in. With their cabinet and for executive council, and then all the MLAs will be sworn in from all the parties, and that's going to happen on this Saturday afternoon, I guess, in Fredericton. So we'll see how that rolls out and who gets appointed to cabinet, and then the heaps of work get piled on, and it just turns into just chasing the file after file after file. But to see the other provincial campaigns wrap up as well at the same time in BC, what a nail biter there, and in Saskatchewan. Not as close as the polls predicted, but Scott Moe did lose a lot of seats, a lot of his majority, and both him and the Premier from Nova Scotia or from BC, David Eby, have both acknowledged that incumbency is very difficult. They both lost a lot of support in their provinces, different parties, different sides of the spectrum. So they both recognize that they have a lot more work to do to get people and have people trust them, I guess, with what they're doing. I think both governments have done an okay job out in their respective areas, but incumbency is not easy in this day and age, and we've seen it with our own government here. Rocky Road in BC, Saskatchewan federally. Well, that's 10 years in. You're not going to stick around much longer.
Yeah, Trudeau. We'll talk about federal a little bit later too. Trudeau.
So, what is your thoughts on BC, Saskatchewan?
Well, obviously there was a clear alternative there as well, and the Conservatives did very well, short period of time.
In BC?
Yeah, to be able to build and to do that in a short period of time. It shows that, again, there's the same with Saskatchewan, there's a rural-urban difference in the results. Same with here in New Brunswick, Saskatchewan, and British Columbia.
Yeah.
And in BC, the effort's on to select a Speaker of the House. Right. That'll affect the balance, could affect the balance of the standings. And already the leaders are jockeying around who's getting calls. And members now are tweeting out there that they're turning down the Speaker of the House, and they're there for their constituents. And so the Conservative leader has tried to put a hold on any of his members becoming appointed, so they don't want to give any more wiggle room to the government. So we have the games that are going there on that front, and then here in New Brunswick, we'll have the behind the scenes that's taking place with cabinet selections. So there's all this behind the scenes that all happens. Yes, sure. And one thing of interest is on social media, there's not much that the Liberals can do until the swearing in, or at least it buys them time until their ministers, they can control the message and things like that. But one thing that I've noticed is very noticeably is Susan Holt and the leadership there with the Liberal Party really trying to show unity and show everyone happy because we know there's going to be a few disappointed Liberal MLAs because of all the talk, the ramp up of who's in cabinet, who's not. But very good strategy, if you're talking, just put politics aside, is showing how unified. And then you get the MLAs saying how unified, how happy they are. And,
at the same time, they're not sleeping at night because they don't know if they're going to get the call or not.
I was curious to know if you guys want to share. Well, I didn't get a call to sit. Some of our experiences and how we felt in the lead up. And what was your...
Well, first of all, I want to go back to the other two provinces out west and just talk about how different but the same the parties are. So a little brief history. The BC Conservatives are not completely BC Conservatives out there. It's a weird arrangement where the BC United Party, which were Conservatives and Liberals, joined together, got rid of the Liberal Party completely, and then the BC Conservatives, they had this movement, folded the BC United up with the BC Conservatives, so they're Conservatives and Liberals still in that caucus, and the NDP are the NDP and the Greens. But it's just interesting how politics makes strange bedfellows. And then same in Saskatchewan.
But before we move on, just remember that the Liberal Party in BC is not like the Liberal Party anywhere else.
Oh, gosh, no.
The Liberal Party in BC is more of a right-wing kind of conservative party.
Center-right, yeah.
And so that is the dynamic there that makes it a bit different.
It is different. And then in Saskatchewan, many years ago, when Brad Wall was successful, the NDP were in government in Saskatchewan, and the Liberals Party and the PC Party then united to make the Sask Party to take out the NDP. And they've been in power for quite a while. Like, I don't know how many, 17 years?
Yeah.
Brad Wall was the premier for a long time, and he stepped down, and Scott Moe took over. He was a former environment minister, took over, and now they've continued to govern. But so it's interesting how those forces join together, and
because we might remember quite a few years ago, wasn't it the Progressive Conservative Party that ran into problems in Saskatchewan? So basically, illegal activity and this and that. Right. I can't quite remember all the details, but
it was a long time ago.
That pretty much put that party in defunct, and anyway, they coalesced around this Saskatchewan party. In Alberta, we saw what was it, the Wild Rose Party, and the Conservatives merged into this
United Conservative
Party. Right. So I'm not sure when their election is, but the NDP is ramped up out there again with the mayor of Calgary.
Mayor of Calgary is leader. I think they're 2 or 3 years out.
2 or 3.
I think so. Danielle Smith got her majority there, and a good friend of mine from Ormocto High School that I graduated with, Bruce McAllister, played a key role in her campaign and still does, and he was elected out there as a Wild Rose MLA for a little bit of time, but he's playing a key role communications-wise. He runs a very interesting or very professional channel, I guess.
From the village of Gagetown?
Yep. Bruce McAllister, yeah. They lived right on the turn, I think, going in the farm there.
Yeah.
And Bruce went out there many years ago for school and became a journalist, and he plays a key role. But they have their own. He has his own. It's almost like a TV show, but it's just talking about issues of the day for the government. Brings ministers on, brings the premier on, and it's very well run. He's a very professional journalist, like you are. He knows how to do interviews, and it's kind of neat to watch. And you find it on social media, and I guess that's part of the way of communicating, keeping your message.
Yeah,
keeping your message.
Jack, I remember you had that proposal 15, 20 years ago for New Brunswick to have a New Brunswick government channel that you could communicate with people. But we will see. But that's interesting to follow. I just look that up and see how they do there.
Yeah, just search for Bruce McAllister on Twitter or Facebook, and he'll link you right. He'll link you in.
So neat. So we have I guess MLAs 30 I guess MLAs. That'll be Liberal MLAs waiting for the call. To see, they'll know, assuming there'd be interviews and one-on-ones and a debrief and what are your top 3, what you're interested in, and all this, and it's oh my gosh, I got a chance. You're saying I got a chance then.
I know. Not ruling it out.
But a couple of great analysis. There was someone that had one this week, and it was really, they had it broken down. I think 19 were going to be in cabinet. We thought maybe, if there's up to 20, they could pretty much give everyone something except for maybe a couple. And hopefully they're the ones that won't cause too much of a stink.
Yeah, I know. Too small right now is not the right answer, is it? If you try to make a statement, say I'm only have 15 or 16, there's just so much lifting that they think they need to do. And I think there's an appetite out there where she's in her honeymoon where she could go bigger.
Yeah, she didn't really campaign on small government, on efficiencies, that sort of angle. It was on affordability and healthcare, and so I don't think there's really any. I'd be picking as many as you could to more hands make less work, and it's just so finicky right now. If they want to, if they're thinking about the next 4 years, New Brunswick already has a track record of one-term governments. So if they're thinking long-term, then I don't think there's anything to gain. There's more to lose if you made it smaller.
Yeah. I think Brian Glant tried to go really small. I don't remember how David's first one was. David Allwood's first one.
No, he didn't try to go extra small.
But Brian did, and it was a lot of lifting on the ministers, and we were just in opposition salivating over it because there was no way, we knew there was no way they could juggle all those files.
Yeah. And Bernard Lord tried it too and had to expand his cabinet. But and maybe at that time there might have been some sort of appetite, but it just really doesn't work.
No.
But and if you're going to try to make savings, there's really no savings. There's no savings.
No.
To save 2 or 3 ministers, when you're looking at the large part of the budget, you're probably saving some convenience of the premier's office because they have less people to have to deal with. But
you have more people over at the government member's office to deal with over there, right?
Exactly.
And we've watched over time. Where it's just been I wouldn't say not well managed, but just it's been a lot to try to work through with a big group over at government member's office for that chief of staff, because normally that chief of staff that's there, they're kind of just left to their own devices.
Yeah,
from what I've watched over time, and it's not easy for them. And then
keep them under the paper.
Keep them under the paper.
Keep them that they're vocalizing their frustration. So let them stand at the side of the desk and vent a little and. So my great hot dog day on Fridays. Just keep them busy.
Yeah. So my 2 elections, I mean, obviously my first one in 2014 was going into opposition anyway.
Right.
Did receive a call from David Allwood the next day, though. He was calling his MLAs, and we talked it through, and he appreciated the work that I did during my campaign, which I thought was very good for him to do. It was not easy for him. It was emotional for both of us to have that chat because I was young and full of piss and vinegar, and I was ready to just roll right in there and then to go into opposition. So for me, it was a little different in that regard because I hadn't been in government. And I remember some of you guys that were going over opposition from government, and not your first time
in opposition.
It wasn't a lot of fun. And then my next two times, didn't get a call too late in the evening from Blaine on my first election, went into cabinet. Surprise to me, environment, local government. Really didn't know much about local government at all, but I got to learn about environment. And then when we won in 2020, our phone call was very short, and he's like, "Look, we're just going a different direction." But he didn't make me wait late at night either. He made those calls, but there were some people in caucus that never did receive a call either way. So it is what it is.
And then the day of the cabinet swearing in, because you're sworn to secrecy type thing. Do you remember how that unfolded?
When I went into cabinet?
Yeah. So
actually, somebody made a mistake.
Was it at the legislature?
It was at the ledge, yeah. It
was all the MLAs or just the ones that were?
Some of the ones that didn't get in were there. I remember Stuart Fairgrave was there congratulating us, honorable guy.
But were they sworn in at the same time?
No, we did separate days, I believe, on cabinet and caucus.
Yeah.
Same as in 14, I think it was a separate ceremony.
Okay.
18 was a separate ceremony, and I think 20 was a separate ceremony from cabinet and caucus, not together. So this year, though, she's doing them all. They're doing them all the same day, which I think is not a bad idea to have it on a Saturday. People are going to go. They're going to not have to take time off work. They're going to have the full day to do whatever they want to do, and it's good for those MLAs and all parties to be able to bring their families there and not be rushed for time and not have to worry about who can't come and who. I mean, they'll all get certain amount of tickets or whatever passes for people to go in, but the new people elected, it's special for them. We've been elected more than a couple of times. It's been in a daytime. Not everybody can come. For the new people elected on all parties, like for our party, Ian Lee and Don Monahan, Rob Weir, it's new, and they're able to celebrate that newness with their family because it's on a Saturday. So it's interesting. It's a good move, and I mean the media is available, obviously, so they're going to turn into a little bit of celebration.
Well, it's nice too to do all the MLAs at the same time as well.
I think so.
Separate, so it makes that special for the MLA. That especially on the little government side, it makes it a little more special for the 2 or 3, 4 that may not
get into cabinet.
So then it's still not like a second afterthought. It's a terrible process. It's a terrible process for everyone involved. It's not easy for the premier. They have to pick and choose, and then for the individual members, they don't see what the premier has to look at the same way.
Yeah.
But it's hard for those and happy for those that get selected. It's the best day of your career. It's it's exciting. Basically it's the most positive time during your term as minister is the first day. After that, it's all downhill from there. It's challenging. It's grueling. It's criticism. It's demanding. It's all that. But it is quite an honor. And for the new MLA sitting, I remember basically my first time sitting on the floor of the legislature and just kind of like, wow, this is amazing. In my first election, 1999, I had no expectations to go into cabinet. 23 years old, first elected, really had no expectations. Not sure, maybe some of the 31 also don't have an expectation, potentially. Maybe they all do, who knows? It's a great experience to be in the backbench as a government MLA. It's also very frustrating. Actually, it's frustrating for anyone that's new to transition into the expectations. You can't just go in and bang your fist on the desk. And those that can adapt to learning how to get things done in the system quickest, then they survive or they succeed the best. If you can't adapt to the reality of how things are to work, it's very difficult.
It can be very frustrating.
Yeah. the awkward part I remember in 99, maybe also 2003, was when you're not called to go into cabinet, you don't know who is called to go into cabinet. And on those days when all of the MLAs are sworn in at the same time, you're running into people, running into colleagues. No one knows whether they've been called or not, because you're not to share the information.
You're not supposed to share it.
You don't know whether you should be happy for someone or sad for someone or upset for someone. And the people that are selected, it's awkward for them because they want to be happy, but they don't know who to be happy with because some of their colleagues haven't been selected. Some that don't have the experience don't know how that's going to work, and it's just no fun.
Well, it's no fun, but I think also at the same time, what the people that are organizing this and helping organize this around the Premier and the Premier's office is they don't know how to support those, or they don't give the great effort to support those that they know are being left out right from day one.
Yeah.
It's a lot of roller coaster there going on. And if you haven't been in it, you don't know it.
And that's where I probably experienced.
And I don't point this at any one person in particular. It's just the way the system I know. Everything's going fast.
And what I found my time in politics is my first time experiencing staff people that are not elected are organizing and involved with things, interacting with members that are elected, and aren't even trying to understand what the situation is like. And first experience of kind of a arrogant or, and it's a lot of pressure for these staff members, and they're new too. But if people would stop and consider as much as possible other people, or if you're not elected and you don't understand, then take some time to try to understand what the situation is and maybe do your best. I don't know the real answer. It's very difficult. There's no perfect way to go about these things, but a little bit of...
But new governments be well served. Like Rodney Weston was a chief of staff, he had been elected, he had been on the ballot in 99. I think if I had advice to give any new premier coming in or new government, for whatever it's worth, is to have somebody advising or helping out or in charge of those roles who have been through the mill,
had their name on the
have been on the ballot, had won, had lost, whatever. Because I have actually heard recently from candidates who have lost that said people have no idea. We think it's easy until we're on the ballot. They have really no idea on what you face every day and whatnot. So to have that experience helping chief of staffs and advising backbenchers and just helping them, mentoring them is big. I think it's just knowledge and experience that not very many people get and have. And it's just a perspective. There's no way that anybody that's not on the ballot that's a staffer can know. There's no way they can they can understand, I don't think.
No, not until they've been in the shoes.
Not until they've been in the shoes, so.
And I guess vice versa. Not until you've been an EA do you really know what an EA does or anything else. Chief of staff or premier.
I know.
So that's the challenge in life, isn't it? Is putting yourself in other people's shoes and trying to seek to understand and trying to. But Jody, you hit it on both of you did, but you hit it on the nail. Sooner that an MLA, especially a new MLA in a situation, they can get up to speed and
maneuver
the system, find solutions rather than just wallowing in problems and complaining. Then they'll get adjusted better sooner they figure that out. So
there's 48 other MLAs in there, and if you can get ahead of them on figuring out files and making the relationships with senior staff in different departments, you're ahead. You're already ahead, and unfortunately that's the system, but that's the way it is, and it can be very competitive too. So if you know what to do out of the gate and you adapt to that, then you're going to do okay. And for some of those new ones that don't go into cabinet, that's their advantage. They have the advantage of spending the time doing that, asking others who have been elected, who do I talk to? How do I get this going here? Where do I call? Who do I see? And they will be able to produce for their constituents quicker than some of the new elected MLAs that are going into cabinet right off with a fresh EA that doesn't know anything either. They have to learn it on the job, and it's going to come at them fast.
Yeah, and these things all start piling up, and will the leader be able to manage all of that? That's their responsibility, to build the team, to keep a team, to manage it all. There's the elected, the unelected, the defeated, the people, the bureaucracy, the deputies, the assistant deputy. And
leadership matters.
Leadership
roles
matters.
like this, and it's a big lift.
And then that, if there's chaos happening, that can't be controlled, and that spills over into public message. So, and we don't give anyone the time anymore. We would, there will be some time and grace for the new premier,
honeymoon,
but very little time in terms of getting it right. Making mistakes is not allowed in politics. Learning, recorrecting. We're a fast food society. We want people to get the job done, get results, and no excuses. So
it's kind of a funny thing to watch out there, because you see a segment of the public saying, well, if they made a mistake, why don't they just say they made a mistake?
Oh yeah.
And own up to it and move on. And then when they make a mistake and say, oh, we made a mistake, we're going to take that. Yeah. Well, now they're flip-floppers. Now they don't know what they're doing. Yeah.
Criticize.
So it's you can't win either way, but
that's why you got to go with what's best in your heart, and weigh it all out, make the decision, then you can put your head on the pillow.
Right.
You don't have to regret, because not everyone's going to be happy with anything.
No.
And I've been sooner that the MLAs learn that, and the premiers and the cabinet ministers, you can't please everyone, but you got to do what's right in your heart. Right. Do what's right, do the best that you can.
Based on good research and information.
I've always said you never forget where you come from. Remember why you get involved with politics. And do the best that you can. I also like when people seem to like this, tell people what you're going to do, but when you can't do something, you tell them that as well. Get back to people, be responsive, and no games.
We'll see. Okay. Well, on that note, let's take a quick little break here in the Carr Brothers Show, and we'll be right back to talk about more exciting things happening federally and throughout the U.S. and anything else that'll come up. So join us then. Hi there, welcome back to the Carr Brothers Show. It's episode 125. I'm Jack.
And I'm Jeff.
And I'm Jody, the third of the three Carr brothers. We've had an exciting conversation. It may be an interesting conversation. Between the three of us, how many years of experience in this politics and government and opposition and community service. It's fun being an observer.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to watch it. I guess it's very difficult to predict, because you just don't know how long Susan's honeymoon period will last. But we know that at some point in time, people will get a little impatient with what they're looking for and what they want. But anyway, we'll have to see how it rolls out. And interesting, we didn't get to talk too much about the Nova Scotia election, but that one's underway. Tim Houston, very popular, I think, in Nova Scotia. He won his last election on healthcare issues, which they're big ones. I think I follow them on social media, so I see where their communications has been pretty good on that stuff over the last few years. Getting a little backlash, though, because he's called the election early. Not sure if that's going to matter. The polling, I think the little bit of polling there is showing, it looks like he may gain seats. He's got almost all of his candidates nominated. The Liberals and the NDPs are far, far behind with nominating candidates, and they'll be a week in on next weekend. This weekend coming, they'll be a week in. So
hard to win elections when it's just you're naming candidates during the election.
Now the fixed date is next spring, I think. So the parties obviously were waiting until after Christmas, let's say New Year, to nominate candidates, which I guess you could argue that maybe is too late anyhow. Maybe they should have been working at it this fall and getting it done.
Get the Christmas scene, and you never know, right? Good 6 months to get the team and get volunteers, test out which ones are interested and which not. So it'll be, I would think the 10th. When is the date? Do we know when the election date is?
End of November, close to the end of November. Yeah. It's going to be darn cold for door knocking. They're already down there door knocking with parkas on and toots and stuff, and it's chilly. So hey. He called it, and
you can't leave the door open too long. No, got to get moving.
That's right.
So that'll be a good reason to not stay too long at the doors.
Yeah, exactly. Keep moving. Well, let's talk more about federal, because it does tie into that too.
Yeah,
because of all these elections throughout the country.
and also federally now, 10 years it's gone by, but there's Justin Trudeau a little bit on the ropes with some of his caucus members, and the latest is that some of the caucus, there's about 20 some that want Trudeau to resign to give time for a new leader, and then come in the election with a new leader. But now some of these backbenchers, the latest is they want the cabinet to agree to a secret vote.
Secret vote in caucus.
Cabinet saying no. Which maybe there's still some ramifications where your cabinet, you couldn't even partake in a secret ballot. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
But they're saying no. So there's division within the Liberal caucus.
I guess some of them are very outspoken.
Yeah,
see Wayne Long on the news there all the time.
Here in New Brunswick, yeah. I think he reflects probably what, the polls say the majority of people think there needs to be a change. You were saying Frank McKenna. Yeah, Frank McKenna was in the news on Telegraph Journal last week. Saying that if he was the leader, he would be stepping down by now. The 10 years, and he did it provincially, and if he was Justin Trudeau, he'd probably be stepping down. That's major to have a former Liberal premier, former ambassador to the U.S. Yeah, to say that, not helpful for Justin Trudeau. But then he also came back and said, but maybe the other side of it is you have Justin Trudeau run and he didn't quite say it this way, but run, get wiped out, and then build a fresh start after the next election. Yeah, and I tend to agree with that because history has shown, if you look at the PCs, when Brian Mulroney stepped down and Kim Campbell was prime minister, that didn't bode well in the long run.
It's hard to change the momentum.
It didn't bode well.
People want change.
Yeah, that's true. It didn't bode well, but Kim Campbell was actually doing very well in the election and leading off. She increased the polling numbers, and then mistakes that she made during the campaign ruined and reminded people why they didn't want to vote PC. But a couple of mistakes that she made was she said election times were not the time to talk about important or detailed issues.
Yeah.
So that went sideways, and then they resorted to basically hate ads, advertisements of Jean Chrétien, made fun of his face, or at least that's how it came across. Their own members of parliament started speaking against that type of advertising, and even back then it didn't work. No, negativity. It's just not something
you don't need to do it. You don't need to do it. So. What year was that?
93.
93 it was. And was that kind of the first election you were involved with?
Yeah, that was my very first election that I volunteered in. Yeah, it was grade 12. After grade 12, then the election was that fall. I had to decide, the PC, Liberal, what was going to, what should I do? And
so you knew you wanted to be involved somewhere.
Yeah, it was high school model parliament when I first started in grade 12, and kind of got the excitement of it, how to make change, legislation, whatnot. But we learned about the GST and the HST in economics class. And I learned the background around that election became about, but people were mad about the 7% federal GST that Brian Mulroney put on. What people didn't know enough about was that it was actually previously 13% of a sales tax hidden on Canadian products only. And so what the government was doing, Mulroney said, okay, let's put and this was impacting the cost of goods coming in to the country, because Canadian products were unfairly taxed. Yeah. Well, it was a reverse tariff, basically. You're taxing your own Canadian products, but the out of country were tax-free, where we didn't have the same tax. So he said, let's put 7%, let's lower that manufacturer's tax of Canadians, put it on all products at 7%, and be transparent and public about it at the point of sale, because you can't tax imported goods otherwise.
Right.
And so the same way. Anyway, and then I'm like, that makes sense. Actually, I was quite impressed. And then I thought, it's unfair to be upset against this tax. In fact, there's going to be a savings for Canadians. But it's just so typical of not being able to get the message out and people just seeing what they see at the time. But that was my first election when I volunteered.
And she didn't have she didn't have any wiggle room to make those mistakes. Like, it was already on a rocky start for the PCs at the time federally.
Yeah.
She just didn't have the room, and whether she agreed with those attack ads or not, I guess we'll never know, maybe. But
and maybe by then
it was just a bad.
By then it was desperate, so that she was losing by then anyways. The big mistake was saying that elections were not the time to discuss important issues to Canadians. Because they were detailed and complicated and this and that. But
and Chrétien being such a great communicator, though, he would have pounded her with that.
He did. And the other thing that I learned in that election was you can't trust politicians with their election promises. And Jean Chrétien promised to eliminate the GST.
He did.
Yeah. And that also, I decided which party to support. A big part was around that policy and the progressive conservative thinking. And then he promised in the Red Book that he was going to eliminate it. And that got a lot of votes. And then sure enough, a few months later, no, we can't do it.
Yeah.
And so to me, I felt strong after that when you make a campaign promise, you stick to it. You tell what you're going to do, and you do it. And every government I was part of believed in that. Under Bernard Lord, David Alward, when we had a platform, whether you liked everything or didn't like everything, when you made a promise, you keep those promises. I suppose if there's a promise that maybe doesn't work out, you have some sort of explanation, but that was a big lesson there, that you make promises. So then all of my local campaigns is I don't make promises to get elected. I promise hard work. I promise to be around, not just at election time, and that's what I promise. So it's refreshing. But
it's easier that way.
It's easier that way.
Yeah.
Anyway. So that's a great little history lesson there. In 1993, I was in Thunder Bay during that election, didn't know who to vote for, and I said, I know who's Joe to vote for. That's who I'm voting for. That candidate lost as well. I looked her up because that's when I went to TV and radio broadcasting. So I looked her up, and she did pass away actually a few years ago. She was very heavily involved in city council in Thunder Bay, and very outspoken, and lost as well. But anyway, so I remember that, my very first vote. Still sticking on federal. There's Jagmeet Singh now. They're all back and forth.
Keep throwing the hot potato, don't they?
Yes.
Keep throwing that hot potato.
Couple weeks. What's the latest?
Well, and Pierre just gets to sit back and watch. And it's like, you guys keep throwing this potato around. But what's the latest? Tell us, Jack.
Pierre Poilievre, of course, has stayed consistent that they want the government to go down.
Right.
The Liberal government in Parliament. A week or two ago, Bloc Québécois was all in favor of propping up the Liberals because Jagmeet Singh had pulled out, said, we're not doing this agreement anymore. And now the latest is now the Bloc is not happy because
they gave a deadline.
The government didn't support their pension.
Right. Their OAS increases.
For their personal pension?
Or no,
for seniors.
Old age.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Quite a drastic.
And I think most people would know that there's no way the government was going to do that. And probably the Bloc knows that too when they made that demand, that there's no way the government can afford it.
Yeah, the old force an election on an issue that
they
know is not going to be.
He gave them the October 28th deadline, which was this week. And, and then now that the deadline's up, he wants to work with some other parties and see about bringing the government down. And like you say, Jagmeet's like, oh, no, we're not bringing the government down. We're not playing those games.
We don't like the Prime Minister, but we're not going to vote against him.
So just survival. They're just playing survival.
As far as I'm concerned, the NDP have no credibility.
None.
It's like, and then they want to take credit for things that they want to take credit for, but then they criticize the government. But they have the opportunity to make those changes. I think he's just lost complete credibility. It's just not enough to get it over the top. Because, like you said, he'll do 2 steps forward and 3 back because it's something tactical that he's misspoke. It's like he's scared to go to an election. I wonder if it's because this is the best. Yeah, this is the best. Money. This is the best they'll do. And so now they have at least some influence over a government to make change. They'll never become government. So... are they just trying to hang on? But if that's what don't have it both ways.
No.
Right.
You can't talk tough and then you're in your bites.
Karen, we've torn up the agreement. Even made the video about doing it long before they announced it. Had the video all produced and done. Like, we've torn up the agreement. We're going to be tough on the Liberals.
Yeah.
You're not tough on anything.
It's too bad because when Ed Broadbent was around, and Audrey McLaughlin, and
Jack Layton.
Jack Layton was another one. Yeah. They had a valuable third-party kind of option for people. Yeah. And we just don't seem to have that option.
No. It fizzles. It comes and goes, I guess, but it's really fizzled out now.
So now in the U.S. elections, I guess before our next broadcast, the U.S. election will have coming on. So it's coming up this coming Tuesday. What's going to happen, guys? What's going to happen?
I don't know.
It's another example.
It's getting nasty, though.
I'm worried.
They're getting nasty. Donald yesterday was campaigning from a garbage truck.
I saw that, and he had the vest on and everything. Yeah. First one day it was McDonald's. Yeah. He's a man of the people, Oh, my God. Now he's going to swing
It's easy to do, though.
Oh, well,
Just do that. It's easy to do it. But anyway, we're going to find out what people choose in the U.S. I don't know. There's a Canada Post postal strike that's close on the horizon. So are all the Americans that live in Canada, are their ballots going to get to the U.S. or not in time?
Oh, really?
So that's going to be... Yeah, where are you been, Jody? You're working.
I just try not to pay attention to it.
Yeah, there's the...
They said,
we may not...
parties, get your ballots in if you're in the...
Send them by courier.
In the U.S., in Canada,
So that'll be interesting to see if that has any effect on it or not. I can't imagine how many thousands and thousands of ballots that would be coming from Canada. It's a large number.
It'd be interesting to know what that number is.
But I don't know. I think no matter which way it goes in the U.S., it's going to cause a lot of unrest.
It's very divisive. Each side will be disappointed, or to say the least.
Yeah.
They're very polarized down there as well, and they think that their side is the only option, and then I don't think those diehards on both of those sides are not open to the other side. So
I know.
I think we have to brace ourselves. We don't know what's going to roll out.
No.
If either leader wins.
I know. So, I don't know. I'm tired of watching it already because it's all you see on any news channel is U.S. Kamala Trump, and it's just tiring to watch it. But I'm thinking we're in for it's not over yet for a while until they swear them in January or whatever it is. So it's going to be not good. It's not going to be good. But anyway, today's Halloween, guys. We got to switch it up before we leave it, go off the air, and just let everybody know it's obviously Halloween right now. Watch out for the ghosts and the goblins that are out trick-or-treating. Just drive safely.
Where's your
the weather's so great.
What was your favorite costume when you were growing up?
When I was growing up, well, I've had a few. I was a rocker one time out in the Alberta, but dressed up as an old lady one time. I think I was in grade 2. They used to have all the Halloween. They call it trunk or treat now, pretty much there. But the Gary Line Center used to have on Halloween night. The kids could all go there, and there was games for them and a lot of games.
Yes, that's what I was going to mention.
Yeah,
potato bags.
Yeah,
bags of potato when you buy and maybe you still do, but buy the big 50-pound bags of potatoes. Well, we dressed up in those, I guess. Yeah, homemade.
Yeah, a lot of Halloweens have come and gone. I mean, in Alberta, when we lived there was over a foot of snow on the ground on Halloween every time.
Yes.
Cool. I don't think it's quite the case there now. We're getting some snow, but it's really warm here today, so... just be cognizant of that. And you see recent articles on the news of police seizing drug-laced items that look like candy packages and things like that. So parents, be very careful about what your kids are getting in there.
Yeah.
Halloween bag.
How many will you get at your place?
0.
I'll get 0. I'll get 0 too. Yeah,
it's
just
you go do the subdivisions.
So we don't live right in subdivisions. Yeah. No, because it's all return on investment.
They got to weigh it out. Do I go in the municipal and get 1 or 2 things at each house, or do I go
and bigger things too?
And get a bigger bag.
But I know
driving,
but more driving,
mileage,
more gas,
you know, get the gas,
time,
the instant.
If they would, it's a cost benefit. Well, you got to get around and get your list. Like the parents, get your list of if you get your 20 or so spots. If you're not living right in the municipality,
where you visit.
20 list, friends, family. Tell them ahead of time that you're coming so that they can prepare the big.
We used to do that. We'd all bring our kids to Nan's, and then we'd go to Dad's, and then we'd go up maybe to Grammy's or wherever.
Yeah,
that's what we do because we live so rural, and then some
our
friends
family
along
was
the way.
Our family was all around, so we got to go, 20 to 25. Like that was a big haul. Yeah, for if you go to 20, 25 homes. So
that's 20 years ago for me.
Yeah, so I miss those. That was one of my favorite things to do, was to go out on Halloween. So we just want to encourage people to be safe. That's the big thing.
Yeah.
Slow down in the vehicles. It's dark out. Not all the ghosts and goblins have headlight and glow sticks and those sort of things. So just be careful where you're driving.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, okay, guys. Well, what a show that came right by. So
I can't believe we can just talk and talk and talk the whole time.
So 1 week from today, we'll have an election completed in the U.S. We'll have a provincial government here sworn in with cabinet, and so we'll have a little bit to talk about maybe by then.
Yep.
And as soon as we can get some of the technology working the way we want, we're on location in a new location, a new studio. So we'd like to get some guests on.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure. We will do that. We'll get back to that. People really enjoy the guests as well. So, all right. Well, with that, let's sign off to our viewers here on the Carr Brothers Show. So have a great night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.